Imagine this. You're scrolling through your phone, and suddenly, there it is. Your avoidant ex has sent you a message. Your heart races, your mind spins, and instinctively you wonder, do I answer? What do I say? Let me tell you something. How you respond in this moment can either empower you or leave you back in the same cycle of frustration. First, you need to take a deep breath and pause. Avoidant exes are masters at testing boundaries, seeking attention while keeping you at arm's length. Their messages are rarely just casual. They're often a subtle probe to see how much access they still have to your emotions. Responding impulsively with desperation or over-explaining only feeds the pattern. So what's the key? It's clarity, confidence, and control. Respond in a way that keeps you centered, grounded, and dignified. A short, friendly, but neutral response works best. Think of it as a safe door to communication. Avoid falling into long emotional explanations or arguments. They'll try to pull you into drama. Instead, let your message be measured, calm, and self-assured. Next, consider the intention behind their text. Are they reaching out because they genuinely want connection, or are they checking if you're still available for their convenience? Your goal isn't to solve their confusion. Your goal is to protect your emotional space and maintain your boundaries. This is about self-respect, not manipulation. Finally, the most powerful move you can make is staying aligned with your life. Continue focusing on your goals, friendships, and happiness. By doing so, you're not only showing your ex that you're thriving independently, but you're also sending yourself a clear message. Your worth is not dictated by anyone else's attention. Remember, responding to an avoidant ex isn't about winning them back or proving a point. It's about demonstrating that you are calm, confident, and in control of your life. That energy is magnetic, not just to your ex, but to everyone around you. So the next time that text appears, take a breath, respond strategically, and most importantly, honor your emotional well-being above all else. When your avoidant ex texts you, the very first step is to pause before responding. This moment might seem small, almost insignificant, but it is actually one of the most powerful actions you can take. Avoidant individuals are often skilled at triggering emotional reactions because they know how to push buttons that make you feel needy, insecure, or anxious. If you respond immediately without thinking, you risk playing right into the dynamic they want to create. That impulsive reaction can lead to over-texting, emotional oversharing, or chasing after their attention, all of which strengthens the very patterns you are trying to move away from. Pausing gives you control over the interaction and allows you to approach it with clarity rather than being swept up in your feelings. Taking a pause also helps you center yourself and reconnect with your own emotional state. When you feel the sudden rush of excitement, frustration, or longing after seeing their message, your mind can easily go into a reactive mode. You might start imagining scenarios, replaying past arguments, or convincing yourself that you need to explain or justify yourself. These automatic reactions are exactly what avoidant exes rely on. They thrive on the emotional energy you give them. By stopping, taking a deep breath, and giving yourself a moment to process, you create a mental buffer between your emotions and your words. This allows you to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting instinctively. During this pause, it is crucial to reflect on your intentions. Ask yourself why you want to respond and what outcome you are hoping to achieve. Are you seeking reassurance, validation, or closure? Or do you genuinely want to establish a calm, respectful interaction? By clarifying your intentions first, you prevent yourself from getting pulled into a cycle of emotional drama or manipulation. This moment of reflection also gives you the opportunity to check in with your boundaries. Avoidant exes often test limits, sometimes subtly, sometimes overtly. Recognizing these tests before responding helps you maintain your emotional safety while still engaging in the conversation on your own terms. Pausing also gives you the chance to consider timing and tone. Responding too quickly can make you appear reactive or desperate, while a delayed, thoughtful response communicates self-assurance and composure. It shows that you are not ruled by the ebb and flow of their attention, and that your life continues uninterrupted regardless of their text. During this pause, you can craft a message that is concise, neutral, and aligned with your emotional goals. This step is not about playing games or being manipulative. It's about honoring yourself and choosing to respond in a way that reflects your values rather than your triggers. Finally, learning to pause before responding helps you build long-term emotional resilience. Each time you create space between the message and your response, you strengthen your ability to manage difficult emotions and maintain control over your reactions. This skill does not just apply to interactions with your ex, it becomes a tool you can use in all relationships, personal or professional. The pause is a small but powerful act of self-mastery, and it sets the tone for all future interactions. By taking this moment to breathe, reflect, and recalibrate, you reclaim your power and prevent old patterns from repeating. In doing so, you not only protect your heart, but also demonstrate to yourself that your emotional well-being is the priority, no matter what the text says. Responding with clarity and neutrality is essential when your avoidant ex reaches out, because the way you communicate sets the tone for the entire interaction. Avoidant individuals often test emotional boundaries, and they tend to pull people into reactive or dramatic exchanges. If your response is emotionally charged, overly detailed, or defensive, it feeds the pattern that they are accustomed to and often looking for. The goal is to respond in a way that communicates calm, confidence, and control rather than desperation or neediness. Keeping your messages clear, concise, and neutral allows you to engage without giving away unnecessary emotional energy, which is often what an avoidant person is seeking to trigger. Neutrality in your response doesn't mean being cold or dismissive. It means avoiding over-explaining, apologizing unnecessarily, or expressing intense emotional reactions in text form. When you write out long paragraphs explaining your feelings, justifying your actions, or asking why they reached out, you are giving them the attention and emotional engagement they are often testing for. Instead, a short, measured response conveys that you are approachable but not emotionally dependent. It demonstrates that you can communicate effectively while keeping your composure intact. Clarity in your response is equally important. Avoidant exes often play with ambiguity, testing how much you are willing to bend or chase them. By responding clearly, you establish boundaries and reduce the potential for misinterpretation. A clear response communicates your position without inviting confusion or unnecessary back and forth. For example, if they ask a question on or make a vague statement, your reply should directly address it without adding extra emotional commentary. This ensures that you are understood and reduces the risk of being pulled into their pattern of push and pull. Tone also plays a crucial role in maintaining clarity and neutrality. Avoid sounding judgmental, sarcastic, or overly warm. Aim for a balanced, calm tone that reflects confidence. This helps prevent the conversation from escalating into emotional highs and lows, which is exactly what an avoidant person often thrives on. A neutral tone signals that you are centered, grounded, and emotionally stable, which can shift the dynamic in your favor by subtly demonstrating that your emotional state is not dictated by their actions. Maintaining clarity and neutrality also protects your emotional well-being. Avoidant exes can provoke insecurity, guilt, or anxiety, and if your messages reflect those emotions, you are essentially giving away your power. By keeping your responses concise and composed, you are actively choosing to protect yourself from unnecessary emotional stress. This approach also allows you to maintain a sense of self-respect and independence, which is key to avoiding falling back into old patterns of chasing or over-investing. Finally, practicing clarity and neutrality in your responses is a skill that strengthens over time. Each interaction becomes an opportunity to reinforce boundaries, demonstrate emotional control, and communicate confidently. You are no longer at the mercy of their unpredictable behavior. Instead, you engage on your own terms. This strategic approach ensures that any conversation with an avoidant ex is guided by your intentions, not by reactive impulses, which ultimately empowers you to navigate the situation with dignity and self-respect. Understanding the intention behind your avoidant ex's text is one of the most Eichel steps in responding effectively. Avoidant individuals often reach out not necessarily because they want a genuine connection, but because they are checking boundaries, testing emotional reactions, or satisfying their own need for attention. Their messages can feel confusing, flattering, or even urgent, but the underlying motive is often about maintaining control or gauging your availability rather than fostering a meaningful relationship. Recognizing this distinction is essential because it changes the way you interpret the message and decide how to respond. Responding as if every text is a genuine attempt at connection can lead you into emotional overinvestment, which is exactly what avoidant personalities tend to trigger. When you pause to consider their intention, you create an opportunity to separate your feelings from their motives. This step is crucial because avoidant X's are skilled at creating emotional pull. Messages can seem caring, nostalgic, or even regretful, and it's easy to read into them as signs of love or interest. By asking yourself, are they reaching out for my convenience, or are they genuinely trying to reconnect in a meaningful way? You start to regain control over your emotional response. This analysis isn't about being suspicious or distrustful. It's about protecting your emotional space and understanding the dynamics at play so you can respond in alignment with your values and boundaries. Recognizing their intention also allows you to avoid being manipulated by subtle tactics. Avoidant X's often employ strategies like vague compliments, nostalgic references, or apologies that lack follow-through, all of which can pull you into the same pattern you've experienced before. If you react emotionally to these messages, you reinforce the cycle, giving them the attention they were testing for. When you understand that these texts may be more about their comfort than your well-being, you can respond in a way that maintains your dignity, keeps your boundaries intact, and avoids falling back into old patterns of over-engagement or emotional chasing. Once you have clarity on their intention, you can craft your response with precision. This is not about ignoring them completely or being cold. It's about responding strategically. You communicate that while you are polite and composed, your emotional energy is not for grabs. Your response can be neutral, brief, and intentional, reflecting that you value yourself and your time above their attempts to provoke a reaction. This approach sends a subtle but powerful message. You are not reactive, you are not desperate, and you will not allow yourself to be pulled into emotional turbulence for someone else's convenience. Finally, understanding their intention empowers you to focus on yourself and your life rather than being caught up in theirs. You no longer have to interpret every text as a personal message that demands action or emotional labor. Instead, you can choose responses that align with your own goals, values, and well-being. By maintaining this perspective, you reclaim control over your emotional landscape and make it clear through your calm and considered actions that your happiness is independent of their behavior. This understanding transforms the interaction from a potential trigger into an opportunity to demonstrate self-respect, emotional intelligence, and personal strength, ensuring that your energy is invested where it truly belongs, prioritizing. Your emotional space when your avoidant X reaches out is one of the most important strategies for maintaining your well-being and breaking old patterns. Avoidant individuals often have a way of pulling people into cycles of emotional turbulence where you feel compelled to explain yourself, justify your actions, or chase after their attention. These dynamics can be exhausting and destabilizing if you allow them to dominate your thoughts or behaviors. By consciously choosing to protect your emotional space, you create a buffer that allows you to respond with intention rather than reaction. This step is not about being cold or indifferent. It's about recognizing your own value and ensuring that your emotional energy is not compromised by someone else's unpredictable behavior. Maintaining emotional space begins with self-awareness. When a text arrives, it is natural for emotions to flare up. Memories, hopes, or old attachment patterns may resurface, and it can be tempting to dive straight into the conversation. Instead, pause and check in with yourself. Notice what emotions are arising and what thoughts are driving your impulse to respond. Are you feeling anxious, guilty, or insecure? These emotional triggers are often exactly what avoidant X's are unconsciously testing. By identifying them, you can separate your genuine feelings from the pull of the pattern, which helps you engage from a place of strength rather than vulnerability. Setting boundaries is a critical part of protecting your emotional space. Boundaries might mean deciding the time of day you respond, limiting the length or tone of your reply, or choosing not to respond at all if the message feels manipulative or unnecessary. These boundaries communicate self-respect without creating conflict. They act as a shield, preventing you from being pulled into the emotional ups and downs that often accompany interactions with avoidant personalities. When you enforce these limits consistently, you also begin to redefine the dynamic. You are no longer reacting to their behavior. Instead, you are setting the rules for your own emotional environment. Another key aspect is managing your expectations. Avoidant X. ES may reach out sporadically, inconsistently, or with unclear intentions. If you expect them to respond in a certain way, you set yourself up for disappointment or emotional turmoil. Protecting your space means being realistic about what their messages truly signify rather than reading into them with hope or anxiety. This mindset allows you to respond calmly and rationally, rather than being swept into patterns of chasing, pleading, or over-explaining yourself. Finally, prioritizing your emotional space requires a focus on your own life and priorities. The more engaged you are in your goals, passions, and relationships outside of this interaction, the less power their text has over your mood or decisions. This doesn't mean ignoring them completely. It means ensuring that your emotional stability is not contingent on their actions or attention. By valuing your own well-being and treating your emotional energy as sacred, you reclaim control over the interaction. Protecting your emotional space is ultimately about self-respect, empowerment, and demonstrating that your life and happiness are not defined by anyone else's behavior. This approach creates a sense of inner strength and calm that is magnetic, maintaining your dignity while navigating challenging dynamics with an avoidant X. Maintaining your life and confidence when your avoidant X reaches out is a crucial step in ensuring that you remain in control of your emotions and your boundaries. Avoidant X's often test not only your emotional reactions, but also your sense of self-worth. They may reach out sporadically, with messages that pull at old attachments, nostalgia, or unresolved feelings, creating a tug of war for your attention. Responding from a place of insecurity or desperation gives them exactly what they are unconsciously seeking, a validation of their power over your emotional state. By focusing on your own life and demonstrating confidence, you send a clear message. Your happiness and stability are not dependent on their actions or attention, and your emotional well-being is your top priority. Confidence begins with understanding your own value. When you are clear on what you bring to the table emotionally, mentally, and socially, it becomes much easier to interact with an avoidant X without slipping into old patterns. You no longer rely on their validation or approval to feel worthy, which prevents you from overreacting or overinvesting in a brief or manipulative interaction. Confidence is also reflected in the way you communicate. Your messages are concise, calm, and composed, demonstrating that while you acknowledge their text, you are not swept into emotional highs and lows. This measured approach reinforces the idea that your life continues uninterrupted, regardless of their behavior. Continuing to thrive in your personal life is equally important. Avoidant X's are often drawn to people who are self-assured and engaged in their own growth. By focusing on your goals, hobbies, friendships, and personal development, you create an energy that is naturally magnetic. This is not about trying to make them jealous or compete for attention. It's about living fully and authentically. Your energy and accomplishments serve as a reminder to yourself and subtly to them that your life is rich and fulfilling independent of any single relationship. Maintaining confidence also involves emotional regulation. Avoidant personalities can trigger insecurity, doubt, or anxiety, which can easily lead to reactive or impulsive messaging. By practicing self-control and responding intentionally, you demonstrate inner strength. This means not chasing their attention, not overanalyzing every word, and not letting their sporadic contact dictate your emotional state. You are the one steering your emotions, not them, and this sense of mastery communicates maturity, self-respect, and emotional independence. Finally, maintaining your life and confidence reinforces long-term patterns of self-respect and healthy boundaries. Every time you respond, or choose not to respond, with calm confidence, you are reinforcing a new standard for how interactions with your ex or anyone else should be conducted. You are no longer at the mercy of unpredictable behavior or old attachment habits. Instead, you are actively shaping the dynamic. Your focus on your own life, priorities, and personal growth ensures that your energy is invested where it truly matters. Over time, this not only protects you from emotional turbulence, but also cultivates an aura of stability and strength that is attractive, magnetic, and deeply empowering. Living fully, confidently, and independently is the ultimate way to navigate interactions with an avoidant ex while maintaining dignity and self-respect. In conclusion, responding to an avoidant ex is less about winning them back and more about reclaiming your power, protecting your emotional space, and maintaining your confidence. By pausing before responding, communicating with clarity and neutrality, understanding their intentions, prioritizing your well-being, and continuing to thrive in your own life, you not only safeguard your heart, but also demonstrate self-respect and emotional strength. Remember, your worth is not defined by anyone else's attention, and the way you handle this interaction sets the tone for all your future relationships. Thank you for taking the time to focus on your growth, your boundaries, and your happiness. It's a step that truly honors yourself.